So the most important thing about prepositions is that they describe the relationship between two different objects. So you pretty much have two nouns, and the preposition will come in between the noun and show the relationship between them. So I want to explain to you 5 different prepositions that I think could be useful and a lot of people get wrong. So let's start with at. With at, you are talking about reaching a certain time or location, probably the main use. So I'll show you an example. Let's say we're talking about time, right? You could say something like this. We went home at 5 p.m., right? You can use this for any different type of time as well. But with location, it's also a similar thing, right? We had a good time at the park. So you have to think about, you have this area or time that you want to go, and your arrival there is when we use the preposition at. Within, the rule is when it relates to an object, or the other use of it, which is less common, is being inside of something. So relation is the most popular one when we use it in English. Try this. You say, I was interested in ice hockey. So here you have 2 different nouns. You have you have ice hockey. You're interested, which is your verb. You're interested in what? Ice hockey. But you can use it in a lot of different applications as well. If you're talking about inside, which is the more literal meaning, you could say something like this. They had a meeting in the building. So if you have a noun where it's capable to be inside of it, then you can use in that application as well. With on, you might think that we only use it when you have a thing and then there's something on top of it, but there's a couple of different other places we can use it as well. You can use it for relation to time. You can use it when you are relating to a general kind of object. I'll show you an example. So with time, you could say, we had a good time on Tuesday. Yeah. So we wouldn't say at, because in this case, we're talking about the past. When you use at, it would be more of a present tense usage. When we are using it in terms of the object, you could say, he worked on his homework, right? This doesn't mean that he had a pile of homework and he was sitting on it. It means that this was something that he was involved in. It was an object that he was focusing on. And then you have the last and most common use of on, which is, there was a fire on the roof. I put my pen on the book. So you have 2 objects and one of them is on top of each other. With to, this indicates direction or a movement towards something. It's actually probably the easiest one to explain. So you have 2 objects, and then there is a certain movement or inclination towards the other thing. So with direction, you could say, I went to the zoo. There's you, and then you have went, which is your verb, and you're going to the zoo, towards something in this case. You can also use it like this. You say, I was grateful to Mo. So in this case, you're not talking about movement, but what you're talking about is that your gratefulness is heading in the direction of Mo, right? That's where it is intended to go. And then the last one we'll talk about is into, which is also quite easy to explain. 2 of the common usages is with collision, which is when you have 2 objects and they kind of whack into each other, or when you have something that you are capable of entering. So I'll show you an example. With collision, you could say, I walked into a door. And when you say I walked into a door, that's very different from saying I walked through the door. Because if you say you walk through the door, you have the door, and then you opened it and you went in nicely. If you say I walked into a door, that means you had a door and you just smacked into it. So that's a bit different. When you enter something with into, you have to have something that you're capable of entering. That's what changes the usage. So you say I walked into the building. In this sentence, it mostly means that you had a building and you opened the door and you went inside it. It doesn't mean that there was a building and you collided into it, because you can go into the building. So those are all our prepositions. I hope that was helpful. And if you want some more, let me know. See ya.